Old Korra with nuke? Korra's still good. I think Korra's still excellent frame. Alright, when you first spawn in at night, you're going to spawn at these steps here. I'm going to turn my speed on, go to my Arcwing. You put that in your gear wheel. You can see the light over there where the Eidolon is spawning. I'm not going to try and speed through this. I'm actually going to take this very, very slow. So if you want to learn how to Eidolon hunt, pay attention. We'll go over the builds afterwards, okay? So he spawned over there. I'm going to mark it with the waypoint. So you can actually do these markers on the map, and you can change those to certain colors. They're called lock pins. You can also put those in your gear wheel as well. Your gear wheel has like tons and tons of slots on it. Hey guys, there's actually one thing while I was explaining this stuff that I forgot to explain myself, which was where lock pins come from in the first place. They come from your clan's dojo. They require credits, polymer bundle, circuits, and plastids. And something else I forgot to mention was why I was double dashing. Double dashing while you're in the Matter Eye class grants an additional 40% power strength and also has an innate natural talent to it. So it grants faster casting speed as well. Sorry for this quick interjection. Let's get back to it. And one thing that many people don't know how to do is customize their controller. So if you go to your options menu, go to customize your controller. Currently, right on my D-pad, I have my energy pads. Then left on my D-pad, I have my health pads. In case I get hit a little bit too much, if you have a squishy frame, if you don't have access to adaptation yet, hotkeying health pads could be a big help. And if you aren't aware now, every single Arcwing in the game can blink just by tapping left bumper. It does have a 2-second cooldown though. That was changed like a while back, but I always go to this camp now here because I think this is supposed to be the quick charge. People will say QC for quick charge. And you're going to slowly kind of creep up. I'm going to turn my sprint mode off. Actually zoom out a little bit. And you can slowly creep towards it to get your first lure. And hopefully the Bombilus spawn. See, it actually just spawned right there. And sometimes it'll be 3, sometimes it'll be 2. Every update, it seems like the spawns can get a little finicky. So I just shot the lure with my Rubico. I auto-hack it. You can get ciphers in the dojo. I'm going to go back into my Arcwing.
7274 online and ready for combat.
I actually didn't mean to get shot down there, but it's fine. I can just go right back into Arcwing mode. So it just took out those 2 Bombilusts. So Bombilusts have a solid form and the corporeal form. Once you hit their corporeal form, or their solid form health like goes all the way down, they go into a corporeal form, and your lure will capture their souls. Essentially, is kind of what they're doing. Their spirits. It's kind of like some Danny Phantom type shit. So that means we need 1 more Bombilus to capture. Every single lure, you need to capture 3 Bombilusts to fully charge the lure. It's going to be yellow if it is not fully charged. It will be blue when it is fully charged. If you want to know how to change any of those colors, in case you're colorblind, you can go to your options menu, and you can go to... Let's see, where is it? Is it accessibility? You can go to accessibility mode. It is colorblind compensation. And I think there is another way. Oh yeah, here it is. Customize HUD colors. You can actually change all of these for your UI. Everything. Like literally every colored indicator in the game. That's how my buffs are showing up here green. So, we need 1 more Bombilus. So where should we go? There's supposed to be a same trick over this way. Just 4 spawning Voms. But I have not been able to replicate it yet. The thing about Plains of Eidolon is during the night, there are now these things called Vasakivats, and sometimes they will spawn in place of Bombilusts. So what I'm going to do is right along the wall here, but sometimes they can spawn down here. So we got lucky. 2 of them spawned down here. Let's just zoom their little butts up. So now we got that lure charged. It's blue. We're going to grab 2 more lures. If you're playing as Volt, be sure to use your speed buff before you go into Arcwing. You can always hotkey your Arcwing too if you're playing on mouse and keyboard. We're going to zoom in here. There should be a lure here. Yeah, here they are. And remember the lock pins I was mentioning earlier? If you want to, you can place a lock pin at almost nearly every single lure location. But there is a limit. I don't know how many it is. YouTube video, I'm not recording right now, but I will later. So if you want to know the locations for most of the lures, it's at Grenier encampments. So we have our 3 lures. We're gonna go try and find Terry now. He's probably wandered off a bit. He spawned up here. I gotta turn the music down so I can hear his footsteps. I think I can hear him over to the right in my headphones. Yep, I hear him. There he is. I think he's stuck. It looks like he's stuck. So, first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna go into our operator. Void dash twice. I dash 4 because sometimes it gets finicky. We're gonna cast our shock trooper. Now Eclipse. Now our speed buff. Go into our operator. Cast Void Strike. And like I said, we'll go over all this once we finish the hunt. Void Strike is activated. I'm on my old amp now. I gotta get used to that. You can strip his armor. I'm running a thing called Vassalok, and you can slightly strip his armor up to like 70 or 80. You don't want to overstrip, because if you do that, it negates the effectiveness of the radiation damage on your Rubico. It's okay if you overstrip. It's just very, very, very minute damage differences. He does that scream once you hit the leg, or once you hit one of the limbs. So if you're fast enough, your Void Strike won't be recharged in between that, but this time it is. If it is not recharged, both of the arcanes that we have, Eternal Onslaught and Eternal Eradicate, you're going to want to proc both of those. One procs by casting an ability. The other procs by running out of all of your Void energy. So now we have that. And we actually do more crit chance and more damage. Our Eclipse is down again. Let's get that back up. So he regains his shield. The mechanic of Eidolons is if you let too many of these little guys, too many of the Bombilus come around, he does a scream and they start regenerating his shields. So take those out when they're around. So we're going to take care of these guys. And since the lures are near them, they're capturing the Bombilists. So we're probably going to have 3 charged lures by the time this is over. So you'll notice that what they do once you get them out of their solid form, they go in that corporeal form, right? They do this dash attack, that right there. If you want to prevent them from doing that, before you shoot them, use Magus Lockdown. That locks them down in place. You'll see like a tether on it. So we got all the Voms down. Let's go back to Terry. His shield's up again. Let's take care of that. So I'm just going to go ahead and use Void Strike again. We need to cast our Eclipse and our Shock Trooper again. Oh, whoops, wrong weapon. And we just 2-shot the limb. We're going to use an energy pad. We're going to place our shield down. We're going to go into Void mode when he screams. So we don't have access to Void Strike. So we're going to Void Dash once and then spam Contamination Wave with Matter Eye. That's going to proc both of our Arcanes. And we can use the Alt Fire on our Amp. And then we're going to hit the other limb once he stops stomping. I missed. Sometimes my shots do suck. He's down again. He's going to do his scream. Go into Void mode. He's going to stand back up. Let's activate our Void Strike again. We can now go ahead and shoot that. And just one-tap the limb. So since I have 3 charged lures, I'm just going to go ahead and fly off for another lure. For a couple other lures, actually. I should have plenty of time. Let's see. This is where my brain goes a little bit numb at times. So there's no lure. He actually might be back up. Let's go ahead and capture those 2. I think he's standing back up now. So, oh, no, never mind. So, Terrorist, you need 2 fully charged lures in order to capture him. Always, 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 always capture. Never, ever, ever kill. So now he's in his last damage phase, and we're just gonna get our buffs back up. I'm not one-tapping because my Eclipse buff is kind of poo-poo right now. I'm somehow in the dark. We're going to do what's called lure pulling. I currently have enough speed to get to the shrine, and this pulls the charged lures before they blow up and drop the loot. That's what's called lure pulling. So now we have 3 lures. Terry takes 2. Gary, otherwise known as the Gauntless, takes 3. And the Hydralist also takes 3. Fully charged lures. There's another mod on our Warframe called Vigorous Swap, and it gives 165% weapon damage when we swap between weapons. So it's another way to stack up your damage. We're going to put the shard in. If you're in a public group, don't ever forget about your shard. I cannot tell you how many times I have been in the public group and they derp around the map not knowing where the hell to go, and it's because they don't put their shard in. It's very, very, very disruptive. So just always take note of where the lure blows up, grab your shard, put it in the shrine as soon as you can. So, we're back on first phase for this guy. It's essentially just the same thing. Use our Void Strike. Take out his shields. We're going to go back into our Void mode. Dash twice. Get our buffs back up. Use our speed buff. Strip his armor a little bit with the Vassalok. Hit his knee. And we got the very first limb. Go into our operator. We're going to dash once. Spam Contamination Wave. I actually missed that a little bit there. This amp, in particular, allows you to hit... I didn't one-shot. Allows you to pre-fire them before his shields even regenerate. Alright, guys. Trying to explain stuff here. I'll turn that browser source off for a second. So now we have our Void Strike back. Same thing. Cast your Void Strike. We're going to hit that limb now. It's supposed to be left, right, left, right, left, right for limbs, but sometimes my shots suck and I have to clutch it. Okay. What? Okay. Apparently one of the lures was not close enough. One of our lures got stuck. That was actually really weird. Actually, shit, my freaking... Okay, there we go, I fixed it. My freaking thing was messed up. So, what happened there was we did not have a charged lure attached to the Eidolon. In order to lock an Eidolon in place, you have to have a charged lure. If a lure is charged, or if a lure is not charged and you take out a limb, they transport to a different place. It's kind of like their defense mechanism. It's just another added mechanic on top of Eidolons. So, I don't know. I think the lure got stuck there. That's really weird. Their AI sucks. You're going to have probably a couple times where you're going to rage at these lures because their AI is complete and total trash. But, I'll tell you what, there's some bombs here. I'm not speeding through this. Since they're here, let's just take the opportunity to capture those guys. Thankfully, he didn't go far. He literally just like spawned back over this way. Which is a-okay. You'll notice all of our buffs are gone. Let's get those back. Our Void Strike is regenerated. Let's just go ahead and do that. So, something I should mention about Volt, while I'm thinking about it, is his electric shield increases crit damage and also applies extra electric damage. So, if you don't have an amp, or if you don't have Void Strike, if you're not maxed out like on Matter Ray or something, if you place the shield down, and then you go into Operator, this increases the crit damage for all the shots that go through it. And so we have the same problem. There's too many Bombilists around. So what do we got to do? We got to take out the Bombilists. Hopefully let our lures, my voice cracks. And see how they did that annoying dash thing? I'm not locking them down. I still suck at that myself. I don't lock down Bombilists like I'm supposed to. If you want to know where specifically the Bombilists are that are regenerating his shields, you'll see blue tethers, like, glowing around him. He'll have, like, blue tethers going to him. So, he doesn't have much shields. I'm not going to waste my time on another Void Strike. I'll just save that for the next limb rotation. We're going to hit our speed here. Let's go ahead and hit the other leg. He's going to go down. Let's put our shield up. Let's go into Operator form. Let's go ahead and cast our Void Strike. Let's toss out the bubble. It one-shot his shields. Our Eclipse is down. Let's fix that. Now we're going to hit that limb. He's going to go over to the pond a little bit. It's actually a bad place for him to be, but it'll be alright. He's doing his charge again. There's an arcane called Arcane Nullifier that will negate the magnetic damage. It's very, very useful for this fight. So we don't have access to Void Strike on this. So we got to get our other two arcanes procced. And unfortunately, we got the Void Sling bug, where it kind of it ricochets you. They still haven't fixed that yet, unfortunately. But all right, we have one more one more limb, which is that one right there. We have taken out all the limbs. There are 4 limbs on Terry, 6 limbs on Gary, and 6 limbs on Harry. Now, when they're in this cry phase, you'll notice the Bombilus are coming around them, and you'll actually hear Anko saying, "Sentient Bombilus sentient, rush to come to the Eidolon's aid." So the more of these guys that go into him, the more health they regenerate when they get back up. I'm actually going to try and run for a lure. I'm going to risk it for the biscuit. There's actually one right here. That works out fine. Now, say if you don't have all the lures charged while he is down to the ground screaming, you're like, "Oh crap, I'm not prepped for the next phase." Bombilusts will spawn at his feet once he gets back up. And see, I didn't lock them down again. I have a very bad habit of not locking them down. So now we have to wait till this lure gets charged. Or we don't actually have to, but all of our buffs are down. Let's go ahead and fix that. Let's cast our electric shield for some damage. We're going to swap our weapons, and we pretty much just two-shot him. Let's carry back to the shrine. We're doing what's called the pull again. They're going to float off. If you want to, you can spam your X to get them to hold position when they get down here. That just makes it to where, like, everybody doesn't have to, like, try to fly up to get the loot. So we just have the one lure right now. Now, this is entirely up to you what I'm about to do. I'm going to put the shard in, and I'm going to go grab 2 other lures. You could technically wait till you have all the damage dealt to him and he's in the crying phase, but I'm just going to go ahead and get the others. Just because Hydralist, a lot of Bombilus can spawn. There's going to be this thing called a Bombilus Bloom. Let's just go ahead and hit that. So now, let's get our buffs back up. Let's strip his armor a little bit. Strip his armor a little bit. Good. Let's hit our Void Strike. Take his shields down. Hit the first limb, and it's rinse and repeat. The best mod you want on any Warframe for Eidolon hunting is going to be a mod called Adaptation. If you don't know what Adaptation is, it comes from Arbitrations. It is a random drop, I think, on A or B rotation in Arbitrations. So you notice how much damage I'm doing. Proccing both of those Arcanes is extremely nice. We got his other limb. We managed to one-shot it. He's going down and crying again. You notice our buffs are about to expire, so let's go ahead and fix that. Let's place some more energy panels down. Let's get our Shock Trooper back all the way up where it needs to be. Our Void Strike is reset. Let's cast that again. Let's throw out our bubble. You really always should try to go for the pits first, his armpits first, because those are like the hardest to hit. But I don't want him doing those stomps or shots in the sky, because those prompt certain other actions for damage that they do. And you really want to try to keep them from doing that as much as you can. So with all these damage buffs, I'm able to just one-shot the limbs. Sometimes you get that lucky if all your buffs are good, sometimes not. So I gotta remember to make sure I lock down these guys. I keep forgetting to do that. I have not seen a Bombilus Bloom yet. I guess I'm hitting him too fast. But Void Strike is good again. When they stomp like that, make sure you jump in the air. Got the other limb. Where's some Bombilus at? Okay, so here it is. This is a Bombilus Bloom. If you see this, take it out as soon as possible, because it just does nothing but spawn Bombilus Blooms over and over again. Another mechanic I should explain. When you kill a Bombilus, if for some reason the lure doesn't get to its corporeal form in time, it's okay. If you pick up the sentient core, you'll notice your frame starts glowing. When you're glowing, you can touch a lure and it adds 1 charge to the lure. So we just charged another lure. All of our buffs are gone. Let's use our Void Dash twice. Let's get some Power Strength going back in. Get our buffs back up. Our Void Strike is back. Cast our Void Strike. This should be the last limb for him. Got the last limb. There we go. I might not have the last one charged. Can I grab this in time? Let's see. There we go. Alright, we got all 3 lures charged. So when he gets back up, we'll be able to deal damage to him. Now, an important note I wasn't able to mention during the Gauntless fight. You need to keep an eye on the lure, on the health of the lures. Trinity can help with this if you're in a team, but if you're solo, make sure you keep an eye on this, especially against the Gauntless, because if they sit there in those beams that he calls down, they will just die. They will take all the damage in the world, and it sucks. We got him. We drop name. Sometimes he actually drops like the slash mods, the 120 slash mods, so you can cast the Cosmic Crush beforehand. We're going to go to the door. We're going to do the lure pulling again. I'm actually going to spam X to tell them to sit there. And that's all of them. So now that we've captured all 3 Eidolons, let's explain one other mechanic about Itzal. It has an ability called Cosmic Crush, and that groups up enemies together as well as loot. It's very good for sucking up all of the, what are they called? The Eidolon Shards. The Eidolon Shards and the cores. They're also good for locking Bombilusts in place if you don't have lockdown. Because Itzal is accessible to everybody. If you go to your Cleanse Dojo, you can get all the blueprints for it there. I don't think there's any other mechanics that I missed. So we'll just go back into this here. Go back into the plains. We got all of our loot. I don't need all the sentient cores, but if you want to run back and get them, you can. And mission complete. We got Arcane Deflection, Arcane Rage, and Arcane Strike. Not bad drops, actually. So, Eidolons are the absolute best thing in the whole wide world for focus farming, and I'll show you why. If you go to your focus trees, I've done a lot of Eidolon hunts. If you do any of your at any of your focus trees, you can do focus conversion. Just tap right bumper, whatever console you're on. 1 Radiant Eidolon Shard is 40,000 focus. Regular Eidolon Shard is 2,500. 1 Brilliant is 25,000. As you can see, I have a lot of them. I think I'm not trying to flex or just be an ass here, but it's really majority of people when it comes to focus farming do Elite Sanctuary Onslaught. I think the absolute best focus farm in the world is Eidolons, especially when you get good with them. How many Hydralisk captures do I have now? 788 Hydralisk captures is what I'm at now. Arcanes, if you don't have them, or if you happen to get copies of them, very, very, very good plat grind. So, let's go over the more complicated part. We explained the mechanics. Let's go over the more complicated part. Let's go back to our focus tree. Let's go back to our operator. The main class you're going to want to go for, no matter what role you're in. Unaira used to be part of this big thing for Eidolons, but now it is primarily Matter-Eye because of a focus rework called Power Transfer. 100% amp critical damage for 20 seconds on switching to operator. 50% casting speed on switching to Warframe, which is essentially like a natural talent. This is probably one of the best thing they ever did for. I love the operator focus change that they did when Angels of the Zarma came out, but this is what you want. Power transfer right here, as well as this right here. Void Strike is what we were using before. It sacrifices all of your energy up to give you up to 1,000% damage bonus. Excuse me. It used to be that you had to sit in void mode forever to get your void stacks up. Now it's literally just a one-tap ability. You tap it, you get 1000%, but it has a cooldown of 40 seconds. So that's where void fuel isn't really important in this. It's just weapon efficiency when Void Strike is active. I don't think that comes into play too much in these runs, but Void Strike, very, very, very good. So let's go over the arcanes as to why we were doing so much damage in our equipment. Both of these arcanes, both Eternal Eradicate and Eternal Onslaught, come from Angels of the Zarman. If you want to get like absolute top tier damage against an Eidolon with your amp, once you have good amp parts, you need these two arcanes. So Eternal Eradicate on operator ability gives you 60% damage to amps for 8 seconds. So just casting Contamination Wave, like we were talking about earlier, gives you the 60%. And then Eternal Onslaught on energy depleted, it's 180% critical chance for 8 seconds. So we were talking about we do one Void Dash, and then we just spam Contamination Wave. So that not only procs our Eradicate, but it procs our Onslaught as well in one unison. So when you're behind Volt Shield, you have Eradicate, you have Onslaught, you have Volt Shield. All of that in conjunction is a really, really, really big damage buff. You actually don't have to use the ball like I was doing. You could use the amp that I'm currently using. Beforehand, I was sticking with the Raplite Prism. I might actually stick with the Clanora Prism. So let's go over the amp parts now. The Magus Lockdown, I actually did forget about those. Magus Lockdown, you get this from Little Duck in Fortuna. This locks down the Bombilists in their solid form to prevent them from doing the dash attack once they're in their corporeal form. And then you have Magus Anomaly. Don't use that. I actually shouldn't have used that. Magus Elevate. If you spam in between your operator and your Warframe, you can get 300 life back on transference in. So if you don't have like enough health pads and you want to default to that, you can use Magus Elevate instead. I think that's it for the operator stuff, as far as I can remember. I don't think I know anybody now that really runs Unairu in groups anymore. I think it's primarily just, pretty sure it's just Vazarin now. Maturai is the king of all shits when it comes to Eidolon hunting. So let's go over the build now. Let's go to our equipment, go to our arsenal. Let's go over the Vault build. And just a couple things. I do have Arcane Shards in my Vault. If you don't have those, it's completely fine. This build will still work. Enemy radar. I run this to be able to see the Bombilus from further away on the minimap, because just sometimes it can be crucial moments where you need one more Bombilus to charge a lure. I really like having enemy radar. I think it's completely... Some people run the damage one, some people run corrosive projection. I think I've seen some people run growing power. I think it varies with some people, but I really like running enemy radar. Arcane Guardian, pretty self-explanatory, more armor so you're not getting consistently pounded on by all the AoE stuff that's going on the screen. Arcane Nullifier prevents the magnetic effect that applies when the Eidolons do their scream. Very, very helpful, so that way you're not consistently losing all of your energy. Let's go over each mod and where you get them from. So enemy radar is going to come from Nightwave. If you don't know what Nightwave is, hit your pause menu, Nightwave. I can't look at the offerings right now, but if you're in your orbiter, you go to credit offerings. It's usually at the very, very bottom for the mods. It is on a weekly rotation, though, so no guarantee it's going to be on enemy radar. It might be something else. But there are different options. Yeah, Deadeye is a different option. If I can hit the right button here, Jesus. Rubico. Of course, I have a Riven on it, but a Riven's not necessary. Instead of having the Hellfire and the Stormbringer on it, instead of the Riven, if you don't have a Riven, the only thing I could think of off the top of my head is maybe if you ran Argon Scope. Argon Scope on Headshot, it's going to give you more crit chance for it. I wouldn't recommend Heavy Caliber, because it massively affects the accuracy of your shots. I really don't recommend that. I would probably go with Argon Scope. The Arcane doesn't matter. I think I have seen people use Deadhead, but I think I'd say they're pretty optional. Vigilante Armaments, that comes from, I think, Ghoul stuff. Vital Sense, Critical Delay, that's Corrupted mod, comes from Deimos Vault's Amalgam Serration comes from the, what are they called? The Thermia Fractures. Hellfire, easy to get. Split Chamber, easy to get. Stormbringer, easy to get. If you're wondering why you don't run Galvanized Chamber, it's because that relies on getting kills. You are only focusing one target while doing Eidolon, so you don't want to run Galvanized Chamber. It's because right on this, with my Riven, I have a 3-pointer multi-shot, so it's really, really nice. Nucor. I run Nucor, and I run this build because it's AoE, and it can chain to the Bombilus that are around the Eidolon. You don't have to run this if you don't want to. You can run... I'm actually not sure what other people run. I used to run my... What did I run? I used to run... Oh, what was it? Not the Gaze Kit gun. Catch Moon. I used to run the Catch Moon. The Catch Moon had a lot of punch through, so I used to run Catch Moon a whole lot, and then I switched to Nucor for the chaining aspect. But Nucor, don't have to have that. Just run something like Atomos or Gaze or Cycron or anything like that. You have a Veiled Piston Riven? I think so. I'm not sure. Vassalok. So remember we were talking about stripping armor earlier? With the mod called Shattering Impact, you can strip armor a little bit. I think just doing one animation where you do the 2 shots is enough to strip their armor by like 80%. We don't want to fully strip the armor because ferrite armor, which is what the Eidolons have, is what they are weak against, which is radiation damage. That's why you want radiation damage on your Rubico. Always put radiation damage on it and nothing else. If you do gas or corrosive or cold or heat, anything like that, you're wasting your time. Just go with radiation. Trust me on this. As for the cat or for your companion, Luna, that's my old kitty's name. This is the build for her, but I think I've seen some people run Sentinels because sometimes your cat can get in your way. I actually don't know what's meta with that. I think I see people usually run a Sentinel. I actually don't know which one they run, but I run my Adarza Kavat, and it procs extra crit chance for me, and I like it because it allows for higher crits. It works out because I've got the Arcane Shards, and the Link mods help with the health, it helps with the armor, it helps with the shields. The Synth mods help with reloading my weapon while they're holstered. You'll see that its passive ability, holstering primary and secondary weapons reload 10% of the magazine per second. So I can have my Nucor on while I'm in operator form that will reload my Rubico while I'm getting ready to take the shot on the Eidolon, so it's really, really nice. Synth mods come from Fortuna bounties. We didn't finish talking about the Volt build, that's my bad. Vigorous Swap, like we said, comes from the arbitrations. That actually you can buy from Arbitration Honors. Blind Rage, Corrupted mod from Deimos, Umbral Vitality. If you haven't done the Sacrifice yet, that's where you get those. You want to fully rank those up. I did put one Umbral Format into him. I do Intensify and Vitality. Prime Continuity, so that way Eclipse, some other abilities last longer. Shock Trooper, this adds more electric damage to your Rubico and your other attacks. So it just helps immensely with all of your damage additives. Adaptation, like we said, that comes from arbitrations. Augur Message, that comes from doing ghoul bounties on the Plains of Eidolon whenever that comes. I think that actually drops from... It's some bounty on Plains of Eidolon, I know. Eclipse, you get that from the helmet system. If you need to subsume a base Mirage to your helmet to put Eclipse on any other Warframe. See the damage increase with the current power strength, 396% damage increase with Eclipse on. That won't affect the electric shield. The electric shield, that's just to shoot through. I think you can stack up to 3 shields for the maximum amount of crit damage that things that go through it. I think it's up to 300%. I'm pretty sure. Speed helps your movement speed, helps your reload multiplier, and shock. That you have to hold that for the Shock Trooper thing. And last thing I think to explain, we went over the gear wheel stuff, like hotkeying everything. And then I think the last to explain is the Arcwing. It's all, literally all you just need this ability. You need this ability, and you need Cold Snap to lock enemies in place. Oh yeah, the amp. We'll go over the amp parts. I didn't go over the amp combination. My bad. Thank you, Purge. Yeah, you need Cold Snap to... This sucks everything in, and it holds Bombilusts in place. So if you have a Void Rig, I do see some people run... Like, if they don't have a great Rubico, if they don't have, like, a high damage dealing build with their Volt or whatever frame they run, some people do take their Necromech with Void Rig. Its fourth ability is so strong. You can hit limbs with it. I don't think it's a one-tap on the limbs. Maybe if you did build for Radiation, I'm not entirely sure, but this is the build on the Acrubex. Bandit's Worm with the Gate mod is what I run. Oh, it's Worm. Okay, it's Worm. It's a 2 to 3 tap. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you. Yeah, you can run Void Rig for that. The Amp. We didn't talk about the Amp. I'm sorry about that. I think that's the one last little detail we got to go over. Equipment. So the parts are Clamora Prism, Purpose Scaffold, and Certus Brace. Clamora Prism comes from Onco. Purpose Scaffold and Certus Brace both come from Little Duck on Fortuna. I think. Let me actually double check that because I want to give wrong info. I'm pretty sure it's that. Good fast travel. Cool Onco.
The necessary sacrifice. Inevitably. These will assist.
Yep. Raplac Prism. Is a Certus Brace here? No, it's not. Okay, yeah. Raplac Prism.
In time.
And then the Scaffold and the Brace are both from Little Duck. And one important mechanic, whenever you first spawn into like Cetus and like you want to quickly get to the door, if you're like on a time crunch or something like that, you're joining the team like, quick, hurry, get to the door. All you got to do, no matter where you're at, especially if you're just at the spawn point, just hit your pause menu, fast travel, go to Kansu, and then bam, you're right there at the door. And that's it. That's all I can think about. Hope you found this useful.